She teased the human warrior until her mother said he's your parent. Mist curled around the trees like a living curtain, and the bioluminescent plants that glowed at night now reflected the soft light of dawn. From her perch on a low branch of a glowing tree, Leora watched the human warrior below. She smirked and twirled a strand of her silvery hair, waiting for the perfect moment. Ronan was practicing. His long strides carried him across the uneven ground with precision, his sword slicing through the air. Leora hid behind the trunk of a massive, twisted tree and held back a giggle. Humans were strange, she thought. Tall, clumsy-looking, and so serious all the time. "Focus, Ronan," called a voice from the distance. But it wasn't hers. She stayed hidden, watching, waiting. When Ronan swung his sword, Leora dropped a small vine from above, tangling around his foot. He stumbled slightly but didn't fall. He muttered something under his breath and carefully untangled himself. Leora burst into laughter. "You're clumsy," she called. "Maybe you need Velari lessons." Ronan looked up, and for a moment his face was unreadable. Then a small, calm smile appeared. "And you, little one, should learn not to interfere with warriors at practice," he said, his voice steady but kind. Leora's eyes sparkled with amusement. He didn't seem angry. That only made teasing him more fun. Over the next hour, she hid his sword, replaced his water skin with an empty one, and even mimicked his movements from a distance. Each time he responded with patience, correcting himself without raising his voice. She flopped onto a soft patch of moss and laughed again. "You're too serious for your own good, giant human," she whispered. Ronan paused and looked up at her tree perch. "You know," he said, "if you keep practicing with me, you might become faster than me one day." "Ha," Leora snorted. "I don't think a human could ever beat a Velari like me." Ronan's smile widened slightly, though he didn't reply. Leora noticed a quiet strength in him, a calm that wasn't just about muscles or fighting. It was about control, focus, and patience. That strength intrigued her. By mid-morning, Ronan had finished his practice. He picked up his sword and turned toward the settlement. Leora leaped from the tree and landed softly on the ground. "Leaving so soon?" she asked, hands on her hips. "I have duties," he said, "but you seem energetic enough for the both of us." Leora giggled. "Maybe I'll teach you some tricks next time." Her teasing was interrupted by a sudden commotion. A small alien predator, a creature like a mix of lizard and bird, leapt from the trees and charged at the settlement's workers. Its sharp claws and beak could seriously injure someone. "Ronan!" Leora shouted. He didn't hesitate. With swift, calculated movements, he intercepted the predator. The sword in his hand moved in a fluid arc. With a few precise strikes, the creature was subdued. Not a single worker was harmed. Leora's eyes widened. That was amazing. She had always thought humans were weaker. But seeing him in action, she realized there was more to him than just size and strength. He was smart, disciplined, and heroic. When the danger passed, Ronan wiped the sweat from his brow. He looked tired but calm. Leora ran up to him. "You're incredible," she said, almost breathless. "I mean, you didn't even get hurt." Ronan knelt down slightly to meet her gaze. "Sometimes being careful is more important than being strong. You should remember that," he said gently. Leora nodded slowly. She wanted to tease him again, but something in his eyes, patience, kindness, and strength, made her pause. It was confusing. That evening, she returned home to the small Velari village nestled on the cliffs of Kelara. The village was quiet, glowing softly from the bioluminescent trees scattered among the homes. Vela, her mother, was tending to the glowing herbs in the garden. "You're back late," Vela said without looking up. "I was watching Ronan," Leora admitted, fidgeting. He's strange, Mom. I tease him, but I don't know, he's interesting," Vela asked, finally looking at her daughter. Her eyes were calm, knowing, and mysterious. "Yes," Leora said, "and strong and smart, and I can't stop thinking about him." Vela sighed and put down the herbs. She studied Leora for a long moment, her expression soft but serious. Leora, she said carefully, do you know who he really is? Leora frowned. What do you mean? Vela knelt down, her voice dropping to a whisper. He's not just a warrior or a visitor, he is your parent. Leora blinked, her mouth went dry. What? I said what I mean, Vela replied. You have always been special, Leora, and Ronan, he is your father. You must understand it is complicated, but it is true. Leora stumbled back, her mind spinning. But that's impossible. I teased him, I laughed at him, and he doesn't even know me like that. Vela took her hands gently. He didn't know you existed because of circumstances beyond anyone's control, but now you must be careful. You're teasing, it cannot continue the same way. Things are different now. Leora's mind was a storm. Everything she thought she knew about her life, the human warrior she had watched, and even her own identity was now in question. She sank to the soft moss floor of her home's garden and stared at the glowing plants. Outside, the last light of the sun disappeared behind Kelara's floating cliffs. A gentle wind rustled the leaves, carrying with it the distant sounds of the colony settling for the night. But inside Leora's heart there was no peace. Ronan's calm smile, his quiet patience, the way he had saved the workers. He wasn't just a strange outsider. He was her father. And now everything had changed. She felt a strange mix of fear, curiosity, and excitement. How could someone so distant and powerful be part of her life? And how would she face him now, knowing the truth? That night, Leora lay awake under the glowing canopy of her room, staring at the ceiling, replaying every teasing moment, every laugh, every glance at Ronan. She realized she had been looking at him in a completely different way, but now with a heavy weight on her heart. A soft knock at the door startled her. She opened it cautiously. Vela stood there, calm as ever. Rest, Leora, she said. Tomorrow you must meet him, face him. There are things you both need to understand. The path ahead will not be easy. Leora nodded silently. She had no words. Her mind was still swirling with questions, and for the first time she felt the real meaning of being human, or rather, being connected to one. As the stars rose over Kelara, Leora finally closed her eyes. Tomorrow her life would change forever. She didn't know how she would face Ronan, or what it would mean for her place in the world. But she knew one thing, she could never see him the same way again. The teasing was over. The truth had arrived. And the journey toward understanding, courage, and the bond between human and Velari had only just begun. The next morning, the sun rose again over Kelara, spilling golden light across the floating islands and misty valleys. Leora stood at the edge of her home's balcony, her silver hair catching the light, her heart racing with nervous anticipation. Today, she would finally see Ronan, not as a teasing target, not as a stranger, but as the father she had never known. Vela appeared beside her, calm and steady as always. Are you ready? Her mother asked. Leora swallowed. I think so, she said, though her voice was small. Good, Vela said. Remember, courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting even when you are afraid. That is the strength your father has shown all his life. Leora nodded, gripping the railing. She took a deep breath and tried to steady herself. Today, she would face the truth. The path to the human colony was short but steep. Bioluminescent vines curled around the cliffs, glowing softly as Leora stepped carefully. She kept thinking about Ronan, his calm demeanor, the way he had protected the settlement yesterday, and now, the truth Vela had revealed. He was her father. When she arrived at the training grounds, Ronan was already there. He stood tall, practicing with his sword as if he had not slept a moment, as if he had been waiting. When he noticed Leora, he stopped mid-motion. His eyes softened, and for the first time he looked uncertain. Leora, he said quietly. She approached him slowly, her hands clasped together. Father, she said, the word tasting strange but right on her tongue. Ronan took a deep breath, and for a moment he seemed lost in thought. I did not know, he said. I did not know you existed until Vela told me. I am sorry for that, child. I wish I could have been there from the start. Leora blinked. Her emotions swirled anger, confusion, curiosity, and a strange, growing sense of belonging. It's okay," she said. I just want to understand. Why me? How is this possible?" Ronan sheathed his sword and gestured for her to sit on a nearby glowing rock. "It is not simple," he said. "When I first came to Calera, I was injured, alone, and far from home. Vela found me and saved my life. In the process, something extraordinary happened. Velari biology and human DNA are not compatible usually, but something unique occurred. You were born from that accident, for lack of a better word. You are extraordinary, Leora. That is why you are so strong, clever, and quick." Leora's eyes widened. She felt a mixture of shock and wonder. She had always known she was different, stronger, and faster than other Velari children, but she never knew the reason. And now her father stood before her, calm, powerful, and quietly proud. I don't know what to say," Leora whispered. "You don't need to say anything," Ronan replied. "Just know this, you are my child and I will protect you, always." For a moment the wind swept through the floating islands, rustling the leaves of the glowing trees. Leora felt a warmth in her chest, a strange sense of safety she had never felt before. The teasing and laughter of yesterday seemed far away. Today was different. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, a loud alarm rang from the colony. Lights flashed red across the settlement, and a voice called over the speakers. "Warning! Unauthorized movement detected near the northern perimeter. All personnel prepare for potential conflict." Ronan's eyes narrowed. "Stay close to me," he said. "This could be serious." Leora's heart pounded, but she didn't hesitate. She ran beside him as he sprinted toward the northern edge of the colony, his movements fluid, precise, and controlled. Leora followed, her own agility allowing her to keep pace. When they reached the perimeter, they saw a group of humans and Velari, armed, aggressive, and moving in formation. They were not part of the colony leadership. These were outsiders, a faction loyal to neither species, intent on claiming Kelara's resources for themselves. Ronan stepped forward, sword in hand. "Leave peacefully or you will face consequences," he warned. One of the intruders laughed, a cruel sound. "You think a human and a half-blood can stop us?" the man sneered. "This planet will belong to us." Leora felt a surge of anger. "We won't let you," she shouted. For the first time she felt the full power of her mixed heritage, her Velari speed, her human resilience, her sharp instincts. She was not a child anymore. She was a warrior standing beside her father. The fight began. Ronan moved with precision, blocking strikes and parrying attacks while Leora darted through the chaos, using her speed and agility to disable the intruders. The synergy between them was natural, almost instinctive. Leora realized that even though she had teased him before, she now trusted him completely, her father and protector. At one point, an intruder aimed a weapon at Ronan from behind. Leora leaped, her small frame moving faster than the human eye could follow, and knocked the attacker aside. Ronan didn't hesitate to cover her, blocking a strike with his sword. Together, they were unstoppable. The intruders, realizing they were outmatched, began to retreat. Ronan lowered his sword but kept his eyes on the fleeing group. Leora panted, exhilarated and proud. "You did well," Ronan said, finally allowing a small, proud smile. "You fought bravely. I am impressed." Leora blushed, but she couldn't hide her grin. I learned from the best," she said softly. Ronan looked at her with a mixture of pride and amazement. "Indeed, you are strong, clever, and quick. You truly are extraordinary." After the fight, Vela arrived with other villagers. She looked at Leora and Ronan, her expression serene. "You both did well, but this is only the beginning. There are those who will not accept this union, who will seek to separate you." Leora's heart sank slightly. "Separate us, but we just met properly. We fought together." Vela nodded. "I know, my child, but strength and courage alone may not be enough. You must also learn diplomacy, strategy, and unity. That is why I will guide you both. And soon you must face the archives, the hidden truths of Kelara where your origins are fully recorded. Ronan's face darkened slightly. The archives, yes. There are things there that not even I fully understand. We will go together. Leora must know the truth, not just part of it. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over the floating islands. Leora sat with Ronan and Vela near the edge of the colony, watching the sky turn from gold to violet. She felt a strange sense of connection, not just to her father, but to Kelara itself. She had been born from a mixture of human and Velari, and perhaps that was why she had always felt different, but now she felt powerful, capable, connected. That night the three of them entered the hidden archives beneath the colony. Ancient stone walls glowed faintly from bioluminescent markings, and shelves held scrolls, crystals, and records dating back centuries. Leora could barely contain her curiosity as Vela led them to a section labeled The Origins of the Half-Blood. Vela gestured to the records. These will tell the story of your birth, Leora, and of the human who changed Kelara forever. Leora approached cautiously, touching the glowing crystal that held her history. Images and words appeared before her eyes, memories of Ronan's arrival, his crash on Kelara, his recovery under Vela's care, and finally, the extraordinary birth of Leora herself. She saw herself as a child, floating in a protective energy field, her features a blend of human and Velari, her speed and reflexes already advanced. She felt awe and wonder. She felt unique. Ronan placed a hand gently on her shoulder. You are the bridge between two worlds, Leora, humanity and Velari, and soon you may need to show both species what that truly means. Leora looked up at him, determination lighting her eyes. I will do whatever it takes. I want to protect everyone just like you. I want to be strong, clever, and worthy of being your child. Ronan's eyes softened. You already are, Leora, and together we will face whatever comes next. As they left the archives, the colony quiet and glowing beneath the night sky, Leora felt a new strength within herself. She had learned her origins, discovered the bond with her father, and survived her first real battle. But she knew the challenges ahead would be greater. There were those who would not accept her, who would try to harm the colony, and perhaps even threaten the fragile unity between humans and Velari. Yet, for the first time, Leora felt ready. She was no longer just a teasing child hiding behind trees. She was a warrior, a daughter, and a bridge between two worlds. And she would prove, not just to others but to herself, what it truly meant to be human and Velari at the same time. The stars shone brightly above Kelara, reflecting on the floating islands, as if acknowledging the beginning of a new era. Leora and Ronan walked side by side back to the village, not as teasing stranger and observer, but as father and daughter, united in courage, strength, and hope. The journey ahead would be dangerous, filled with challenges, political intrigue, and threats from those who feared what humans could bring. But Leora knew this. With Ronan by her side and the courage burning in her heart, she could face anything. Tomorrow they would train. Tomorrow they would face the faction that had attacked. Tomorrow they would prove that humanity, and the bond between human and Velari, was stronger than fear, prejudice, or hatred. And tomorrow, Leora would begin her path to becoming not just a warrior, but a legend of Kelara. The morning sun rose over Kelara, spilling light across the floating islands and the bioluminescent forests that stretched like a living sea. Leora stood at the edge of the village, her silver hair catching the glow, her eyes sharp and determined. Today would be the day she proved herself, not just to Ronan, not just to her mother, but to the entire colony. "Are you ready?" Ronan asked quietly, his voice calm but filled with a quiet intensity. He adjusted the strap of his sword, the polished blade glinting in the sunlight. Leora nodded, gripping the hilt of her smaller Velari blade. "I'm ready," she said. "I won't let anyone hurt the colony or you." Ronan gave a small nod of approval. "Good." Remember, it's not just strength that matters. Strategy, timing, and unity are what will win this fight. From their vantage point atop a cliff, they could see the faction approaching. Humans and Velari, armed and moving in tight formation, their ships hovering above the floating islands. They had returned, larger and more organized than before. It was clear they had studied the last encounter and were determined to claim Kaelara's resources. Leora's heart pounded, but fear did not control her. Instead, it fueled her courage. She glanced at Ronan, seeing the calm determination in his eyes. This was her father, her protector, and now her ally in battle. Together, they were unstoppable. The faction landed on the edge of the colony, their boots kicking up glowing dust as they prepared to advance. Their leader, a tall human with cold eyes, stepped forward. "This planet belongs to us," he shouted. "Surrender and no one will be harmed." Ronan stepped forward, his voice strong and commanding. "This planet belongs to those who protect it, not those who seek to exploit it. Leave now or face the consequences." The leader sneered. "Consequences? You think a human and a half-blood can stop us?" Leora's eyes narrowed. "We will," she said, stepping beside her father. The faction leader laughed, but it was quickly silenced when Leora and Ronan moved in unison. The battle began. Ronan's movements were precise, calculated. He blocked incoming strikes, countered attacks, and protected Leora as she darted between enemies, using her agility to strike from unexpected angles. Her mixed heritage gave her speed and strength beyond any Velari warrior alone, and she moved like a shadow, striking and disappearing before anyone could react. The faction underestimated her. They had expected a child, someone inexperienced, and now they faced a whirlwind of skill, courage, and determination. At one point, a group of attackers surrounded Ronan. Leora didn't hesitate. She leaped from above, her blade slicing through the air, taking down two attackers before they could reach him. Ronan's sword moved in a precise arc, felling another opponent, and together they created a wall no one could pass. But the faction leader was not so easily defeated. He wielded advanced weapons and moved with deadly skill. Leora felt a surge of fear as he aimed a plasma rifle at Ronan. Time seemed to slow. "Father," she shouted. Ronan's eyes locked on hers. "Trust me," he said. In a single fluid motion, he rolled to the side, deflecting the shot with his sword. Leora understood immediately. She darted forward, using her speed to close the distance between her and the leader, striking at his side and forcing him to retreat. The battle raged across the cliffs and forests of Kaelara. Ships hovered above, their weapons firing at both sides, but the colony defenders, led by Ronan and Leora, held their ground. Humans and Velari fought together, united, demonstrating the power of cooperation, courage, and strategy. Leora realized something profound in the midst of the chaos. Humanity was not just about strength. It was about ingenuity, resilience, and the ability to adapt. Humans could turn even impossible situations into victories, not through brute force alone, but through thinking, planning, and courage. As the fight continued, Leora and Ronan pushed the faction back toward their ships. The leader, furious, activated a hovering drone swarm intending to overwhelm them. Leora's eyes widened at the mechanical swarm, but Ronan remained calm. "Use the environment," he shouted over the din of battle. "The cliffs, the wind, the forests, make them your allies." Leora nodded. She sprinted toward a cliffside covered in glowing vines. With a quick swing, she cut the vines, sending them swinging like nets toward the drones. Several drones were entangled and fell to the ground. Others crashed into trees as Leora lured them with feints. Ronan used his sword to slice through incoming attackers, while also directing Velari defenders to create choke points. The tide of battle turned. The faction, disoriented and overwhelmed, began to retreat. The leader, realizing his forces were failing, tried to escape in his ship, but Leora leaped onto a support beam of the hovering craft, her blade piercing the controls. The ship wobbled and crashed into the cliffs below, ending the threat. The battlefield fell silent except for the heavy breathing of the survivors. Ronan lowered his sword, looking at Leora with pride. "You did well," he said. "You are strong, brave, and clever. You are truly my child." Leora's chest heaved, adrenaline still rushing through her veins. We did it," she said, looking around at the colony defenders. Humans and Velari alike had survived. The settlement was safe. And for the first time she felt the full weight of her mixed heritage, not as a burden but as a gift. Vela arrived, her eyes shining with pride. "You both have proven yourselves today," she said, "not just in strength but in unity, courage, and strategy. This is what Kelara needs. This is what humanity brings to our world." Ronan looked at his daughter. "You have grown beyond my expectations," he said softly. "And yet, I know this is only the beginning. Together, we will face whatever challenges come next." Leora smiled, a mixture of exhaustion and triumph on her face. I won't let anyone harm this colony, and I won't let anyone take us apart. Not now, not ever." The stars began to appear in the sky, twinkling above Kelara's floating islands. Leora and Ronan stood side by side, looking out at the settlement they had defended. The bond between them, forged in battle and truth, was unbreakable. That night the colony celebrated quietly. Fires glowed softly, music filled the air, and families reunited. Leora sat beside Ronan, watching the festivities. She realized something profound. Humans were not just survivors. They were thinkers, protectors, and heroes. They could adapt, inspire, and unite others in ways no one expected. And now she was part of that legacy. Vela joined them, smiling. "You have done well," she said. "Kelara has seen the strength of humanity and the bond between father and child. Let this be the beginning of something greater, something that will last for generations." Leora leaned against Ronan, feeling safe and proud. I'm glad you're my father," she said softly. Ronan smiled, ruffling her hair gently. "And I'm proud to be your father," he replied. "We are stronger together. And one day, everyone will know what it means to stand united, human and Velari alike." As the night deepened, Leora looked at the stars, feeling a sense of purpose she had never known. She had faced her fears, discovered her origins, fought for her people, and proven the value of courage, strategy, and unity. She was not just a child who teased a warrior. She was a bridge between two worlds, a warrior in her own right, and a symbol of what humanity could achieve when it was brave, clever, and determined. The future was uncertain. There would be challenges, political intrigue, and new threats. But Leora knew this. With her father by her side and the courage burning within her, she could face anything. Humanity, and her unique bond with the Velari, was a force to be reckoned with. And so, under the glowing night sky of Kelara, Leora and Ronan began a new chapter. One of unity, heroism, and hope. One that would inspire the colony, strengthen the alliance between humans and Velari, and prove that even in a world of floating islands and alien dangers, courage, ingenuity, and love could triumph over fear and hatred. The stars shone brightly above, reflecting on the glowing forests, and Kelara slept peacefully for now. But Leora knew this was only the beginning. Together, she and Ronan would face whatever came next, and the legend of the human warrior and his extraordinary daughter would be remembered for generations. And in that moment, as father and daughter stood together, the world seemed just a little brighter, a world where courage, unity, and the human spirit could shine across even the most alien skies.